In the last class, I had told you in day 2, I had told you about various drivers, fine, and I had told you about what is the difference between static and non-static as well. Okay. We also looked at HTML unit driver in which the browser physically never opens. Selenium it kinds of works in headless mode. Fine. Now let's move further and I'll create a new Java project. Day 3, and in this project I will add the Selenium jar file. Okay. So now we have seen that for every browser there is a different driver class, right? For Firefox, there's a Firefox driver. For Chrome, it's Chrome driver. For iDriver. For Safari, Safari driver, which is not so stable. Then you have iPhone driver, Android driver, right? Now, suppose there's a link on the page. There's a web page on which you have a link. Okay. There's a question being asked, that is, do we have to add jar files for all projects we create? Yes. Every time you create a new project, you need to associate the jar file of Selenium in that project. Okay. No, it's not. No, you don't have to add it once, but for every project you have to add the jar file. Okay. Each and every project can have a different set of jar files as well. So you have to add the jar files in every project. Okay. So as I was talking about, suppose there's a link which has to be clicked on. Will there be a different way in which we click on a link in Firefox? Will there be a different way for Mozilla, right? So basically, we'll look at this today. Okay, that is how to manage applications with cross browsers. Right? Are the commands different for entering into an input box in Mozilla, IE, and Chrome? Fine. The answer to this lies in the concept of uh, interfaces in Java. Right. So we'll first study interfaces in Java language, and then we'll come over to Selenium. Okay, I'll create a new class, and suppose I'll create a new a new interface, not a class, a new interface. Now, what is an interface? Okay, what is an interface? Suppose I name my interface as boat, the public interface boat. Now, interface is something which gives you in a very raw format that what the application is supposed to do. For example, when you buy a book from a bookstore, okay, what do you do in the beginning? Right? You go and open the index page and you read the contents of the book, right? Just by browsing through the contents, you come to know that what is there in the actual book. Okay, so that index is like an interface, right? Similarly, suppose you go to my website qtpselenium.com. Okay, now in this, if I go to Selenium tutorial, right? Now this complete modules which are listed training modules, this is just like an interface. You don't know how these modules are implemented, but you know what all is there in the modules, right? Just by looking at the topics, right? So interface is something which is not complete, but gives you a fair idea that what the application is supposed to do. Okay, so we can have functions like these in the interface, like public void sale. So what is the function of a boat? It says, but there is no function body in the interface. You just declare the function, that is public void anchor. Hold on. Right. So this is an interface called boat. Okay. This interface has got two functions, sail and anchor. But I have not given any body to these functions. Okay. So in an interface, you just declare what the stuff is supposed to do. Just by looking at the interface, you can come to know that what the application will be doing. Right. Now suppose I make a new class known as fishing boat. Right. Now fishing boat is a boat. Right. Fishing boat also sails. Fishing boat also has got an anchor. Fine. So practically we write like this, that is fishing boat implements the boat interface. When an interface tells that it is, when a class tells that it is implementing an interface, okay, then that class has to implement all the functions in that interface. If you move your mouse over this error, you will get an option, add unimplemented methods. As soon as you click on it, both the functions sail and anchor, they come up with the method bodies. So if you are implementing an interface, it is mandatory for you to implement the functions as well. You can't even skip one function. If I skip anchor, then again I'll get an error, right? Hold on. Okay, so this is the anchor, right? Anchor function. Now what is this at the rate override? Hold on. Just a minute. Method anchor also. 1 minute. Why? Hmm. Max anchor. You guys, there's an upper limit of 25 people to join the training, right? So please make it. Hold on, just a minute. This is going. Okay, the board interface was not saved, right? And similarly, you write over here, fishing boat. And now suppose there is another class known as ship, right? So in case of ship also, I will write implements the boat interface. Okay, move your mouse and add the unimplemented functions. You can write over here ship sailing and ship anchoring. Now basically what is this at the rate override? It is known as the annotation, right? Even if I remove this, it doesn't make a difference, but we keep this, right? Because this thing helps the layman looking at the code to understand that fine, this function is actually coming from the board interface. Okay, at the rate override means that it is actually coming from the interface. Alright, so this is the board interface. Yeah, it is no, not exactly. They are not exactly same. Right. So a question was being asked: are is annotation and the comment same? No, exactly they are not same because there are other annotations as well which we'll read later on. And right, question being asked is it possible to implement? No. Is it possible to implement only one method? No. If I remove anchor, I will immediately get an error. See that error comes up? Alright. So if a class is implementing an interface, it has to implement all the functions of that interface. Okay. So alright. Now, what is the advantage of this structure? Okay. What I did was I made one interface. Okay. And asked two classes to implement that interface. The advantage is that the names of the functions sail and anchor are common throughout. In case of fishing boat, maybe fishing boat can sail in its own way, anchor in its own way. A ship, it can sail in its own way, anchor in its own way. But the name of the functions, they are same. Okay, so you don't have to worry what will be there in boat, what will be there in ship. So you just have to look at the boat interface and you will come to know that fine, fishing boat will have a sail function and an anchor function. Similarly, ship will also have a sail and an anchor function. Okay, the same concept is used in Selenium. I hope you got this concept, right? Same concept is used in Selenium. If I go to the website seleniumhq.org, just a minute, guys. I should inform him. Right. So when you go to the downloads section on this website and you look at the Java doc, right? In this Java doc, you have, look, whatever is there in italics, right? It is an interface. Okay. In the Java docs, whatever is there in italics is an interface, and rest everything is a class. Sorry, a class. Right? For example, giving a very simple example, mouse. It is an interface, and all these things, functions, are the functions in the mouse interface. And these are the two classes: event firing mouse and HTML unit mouse, which are implementing the mouse interface. So both these classes will have the implementation of these mouse functions: click, context click, double click, mouse move, mouse up, mouse down, right? Okay. So so if I scroll down, you will get WebDriver. Now what is WebDriver? WebDriver is nothing but an interface. Okay, everybody must have heard the word WebDriver, right? It is the latest version of Selenium, right? Now all these classes over here: Android driver, Android WebDriver, Chrome driver, Event firing driver, Firefox driver, HTML unit, and all, Safari, iPhone, all these implement are the implementing driver classes. Okay, and all these classes will all these classes are implementing the WebDriver interface. So all these classes will have the same set of functions in them. Okay, if you look at the method summary of WebDriver interface, like there's a function called close, which closes the current window, quitting the browser, right? So this close function will be there for Mozilla, for IE, for Chrome, for all the browsers, right? A function called find element, which finds something on a web page, a link, button. We'll use this later on, but this will be there in every browser, every driver for the browser. Sorry. Okay. Similarly, get will be there. So all these will be the count functions, like we saw yesterday in day 2, Selenium basics. The get function was used to navigate to a URL, and it was there in Chrome driver, iDriver, Firefox driver. Every driver had this get function, because all these drivers, they implement the same class. Sorry, the same interface. Okay. So I hope you are getting my point. Fine. Now moving further, like if I make a new class over here called Gmail. Okay. So if I'm making the object of Firefox driver, I write over here Firefox driver f equals to new. Hold on. Then I make the object of Chrome driver C. Okay. Now in case of Firefox driver, right? If I have to go to a website, f.get is the function, http gmail.com. And in case of a Chrome driver, If I have to go to some site, you can write f.get. So the function names would be the same, the drivers are different because the drivers are implementing the same interface. Alright. Now, what if I have to decide on the fly which browser I have to open? Suppose I have something known as a string browser on which I want to test is Mozilla. Okay, I want to test on the Mozilla browser. Right. Now, how will I prevent Chrome from being open? Getting my point? Some people might say, fine, you put, and if generally what happens is that I'm hard coding the browser name, we read the browser name from the XLS file or some configuration file. Okay, right now I'm hard coding it, right? But depending on the browser which I want to open, I will initialize my driver. Once I initialize the driver, right, the functions will be the same. Okay, if I have to use close Firefox, then I'll write firefox.quit. If I have to close Chrome, then I'll write chrome.quit. Okay, but suppose my requirement says that I only have to test on Mozilla. Okay, then some of you might say that fine, if you only have to test on Mozilla, delete this code. But what if tomorrow, right? No, Bhargavi, close and quit are different. I'll talk about them later on. Please come through, right? So some people might say that fine, if you just have to work on Mozilla, then just write the code for Firefox driver. But suppose in tomorrow in the Excel file or in the config file, I change the browser to Chrome. What will you do? Will you go forward and write another piece of line and delete Firefox from here? Right? You're getting my point, right? So what is the solution for this? Okay. The solution again comes from the concept of interfaces. Alright. I hope you are getting my point, what the problem is. The problem is for Firefox driver, I have the object F. For Chrome driver, I have the object C. Okay. Now I just want to work with Firefox driver. I don't want to work with Chrome driver. And depending on the requirement, I need to change the browser type. Okay. Now again, I will go back to interface and then I'll come back to this problem in some time. Right. In the interface, like in the code here, I'll just make a class known as test.java. Okay, I made a class known as test.java, and in this class, suppose I create the object of ship. Okay, no, again the same question, that is, can I partially implement the interface? No, you need to say one single class implementing multiple interfaces. Yes, you can do that. The question being asked is like right now my ship class is implementing one interface. What if I want to implement multiple interfaces? So you just have to put a comma and put the interface names. You can implement multiple interfaces as well. You just have to keep them comma separated over here. That is possible. Okay. Right. Now in test.java, I create the object of ship. Right. Then I also create the object of fishing boat. What is the maximum number of interfaces a class? There is no limit. You can implement as many interfaces as you want. Okay. You can implement as many interfaces. Right. Now if I write over here ship dot anchor and fishing boat dot anchor, function is same. It is being called by ship or fishing boat. If you run this, when I call ship dot anchoring, it goes to the ship dot java and goes to the anchor method in ship and prints ship anchoring, and for fishing boat it prints fishing boat anchoring. Right. Okay. Now when you move further from here, just hold on. Right. Uh, till now I have created the object like class s equals to new class. Now I'm going to create the object in a little different way. I'll write the interface name boat equals to new ship, say B1. So what am I doing here? I'm writing something like this: interface reference equals to new class which is implementing the interface. Right? Now what is the advantage of this thing? The thing is with this, with B1, okay, I can access the functions in ship which are coming from the boat interface. For example, in ship there is one more function known as say public void start engine. Now this is a function which is for the ship interface only. It is not coming from the ship class only. It is not coming from the boat interface. This function is a kind of local function. Okay, right? Now if I go to test.java and if I write over here s dot uh, start engine, I can call it. When I create the object of ship, I can call s dot start engine. I can call any function in that particular class. But if I'm creating the object like this, I can write boat dot anchor, boat dot sail, right? Boat dot start engine. I cannot call the third one. This will give me an error. Okay, make sure you don't call it like if you're creating the object like this, the interface reference equals to new class which is implementing the interface. It will immediately give you an error over here, because when you create the object like this, you can only access the objects, the functions which are in the boat interface and implemented in the ship interface. Basically, you can only call the functions which have at the rate override annotations. You cannot call the functions which are local to the class. Okay, right? So what is the advantage for this? You'll come to know in some time. Now if I want to point B1 to ship, I can point it towards ship as well. I can write over here B1 equals to new, fishing boat. Now B1 will move away from the ship object. It will start pointing towards the fishing boat object. And with B1 I can only access those functions in fishing boat which are coming from the boat interface. Okay. So similarly, let's go back to the problem. Right. This is the browser on which you have to work on, and I cannot create two separate objects of Firefox driver and Chrome driver. Okay. So Ajay is asking a question. Can you explain with figures? What do you mean by figures out here? I can't get you, Ajay. Okay. Right. So if you are having an interface, this is my interface. Okay. And this is the just a minute. Class which is implementing the interface. Right. Suppose there are two functions in the interface known as A and B. So this class will implement both the functions. But suppose this class implements one more function C. Okay. So if I create the object of this class, suppose the class name is X. I write X, the object name equals to new X. Then I can, with this object, I can access all the three functions A, B, and C. But if I create the object with interface reference, I write the interface I reference equals to new X. Then with the reference R, I can just access A and B. I will not be able to access the function C, which is local to this class. Okay, that's what I have done over here. When I write this thing over here, board interface equals to new class which is implementing the interface. With this I cannot access the start engine function. Okay, now out here this will actually be used out here. Hold on, I'll tell you how. Now this means that I can write something like this. We all know WebDriver is the interface and Firefox driver is the class implementing the interface. Yes, but interface reference cannot access local functions of a class. Right? So if I write WebDriver D1 equals to new Firefox driver. What does this mean? This means that with D1 I can only access those functions in the Firefox driver which are coming from the WebDriver interface. Okay. Similarly, I can write WebDriver D2 equals to new Chrome driver. Okay. That means all the functions in the Chrome driver which are coming from the WebDriver interface, they can be implemented, accessed with D2. But there's a smart way of doing this, right? What I'll do is I'll write over here WebDriver driver equals to null. Null means that initially it never points towards any class, right? Then we keep an if statement that if the browser on which we want to test on is equal to Mozilla, then initialize the driver to new Firefox driver. Else set the system property and initialize the driver to new Chrome driver. Once the driver is initialized, you can call the function. The function names will be same. If I write over here driver dot get to the URL http gmail.com, then go forward and print the title, because the function names will remain the same in all the drivers. Okay, right? But this condition is possible. You point the interface reference on the fly towards Firefox driver or Chrome driver depending on the kind of browser you want to test on. So you can write over here else if the browser is equal to Chrome, right? So if I run this now, the browser is Mozilla. Okay, so if I run this, hold on. See, Mozilla opens up, it goes to Gmail, and see print title. Now tomorrow in the external file, if I change my browser type to Chrome, okay, in the Excel file I've changed my browser type to Chrome, and if I run this, the same code will start working on Chrome. I'll not have to change the code. Okay, this is only because of the interface. See, the title is getting printed, right? This is only because of the interface, right? The interface reference, I am dynamically pointing towards Firefox driver or Chrome driver. But with this interface reference, I will not be able to access local functions in Firefox driver and Chrome driver. This is a little drawback, but there are very few local functions. Alright, there are very few local functions. I hope you are getting my point. Any questions with this? Any question? This is the best way to create it, Santosh. Right? What is the value for set property second? The value is the path of Chrome driver.exe. I explained you on the second day, right? About downloading this exe. Right? This is the path to Chrome driver.exe. Okay. So, any other question? Alright. So, this is about initializing your browser on the fly. But now once you are on Gmail, what code you should write to identify objects, right? I talk about that tomorrow. Actually, I need to leave for some place urgently, so